Buying a house, it is an exciting time. Whether it's your first or your fifth, there's a lot to think about, isn't there? And there are lots of steps to take. But it's not that difficult once you think about it. And if you follow my steps in the order we're going to talk about today, it'll all go swimmingly. So what are the 10 steps to buying a house? That's what we're talking about today, and we're starting right now.
I'm Sherri Ann Green with Coldwell Banker. Welcome to my YouTube channel that guides home sellers and home buyers in Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia.
The first step that you want to do, again, whether it's your first or your fifth house, is to save for your down payment. Now, maybe you don't need to save. You may have the money ready. Maybe it's sitting in a savings account or a money market account, but you want to identify where those down payment funds are. If you do need to save, then that is absolutely step one. You don't always have to have 20% down. It is a good rule of thumb, but there are plenty of loan products these days that don't require 20% down. So that may not be necessary. But having 20% at the ready in cash also gives you the ability to have some money to make some changes to the house should you buy something that needs a little bit of a fix or a little bit of a design change to make you happy. So whether the 20% goes all to the down payment or is part of the house fund for you to fix up the house, saving that down payment, saving for that down payment, saving that 20% will help make you feel confident as you go to purchase. The next thing you want to do is, if you're paying with a loan, you want to check your credit score. So as you're saving or identifying how much you want to put down, you want to check your credit score. It's the first thing your lender is going to do. So you knowing that your credit score is in good shape puts you in a place where you can feel comfortable and confident calling that lender. If it needs a little work, now's the time. Pay off things that you need to pay off, make sure all of your bills are in order, make sure you're paying them on time, and do anything else that needs to be done to clean up your credit score. So step number 3 is identifying your buyer's agent. Yes, you want to do this very early in the process. So you've thought about a down payment, you've checked your credit score, you're ready to get started. You need to find your buyer's agent. And why is that? A buyer's agent can help you from start to finish. They can help you identify your lender, identify the neighborhoods you want to live in, help you think about the house and the layout and how you're going to live your life and what neighborhoods you might enjoy looking in and ultimately living in. So you want to align with a buyer's agent very early in the process. They can also help you understand this whole process. They can show you what a blank contract looks like so you're prepared to sign it when the time comes. Our market is moving very quickly right now, and if you don't have that buyer's agent lined up early and they haven't helped you talk through what are disclosures and what's an appraisal contingency and how should we think about writing an offer, you're going to be behind the 8 ball when the time comes to put that offer together. So step number 3, identify and start working with your real estate agent. Step number 4 is getting pre-approved for a mortgage. Now, if you're spending cash, this is when you really want to hone in on how much are you going to spend on that house. What are you really comfortable parting with out of your savings account? If you're getting a mortgage, you need to speak to a lender this early in the process if you haven't already done so. A lender is going to help you identify how much of that down payment we talked about you're going to need. They're going to help you identify what's the total loan amount they're comfortable spending with you, sharing with you, giving to you. That's really what it is, isn't it? How much is that lender willing to give you? And the truth is, the lender may be willing to give you more than you're comfortable spending. So the other piece of that is the lender is going to show you what that loan's monthly payment would be. And that may put it in reality for you that you do or don't want to spend that much every month on your mortgage payment. So as soon as you have identified the agent, work with them to help identify the lender, because you want to make sure you have that lender on your team from the start and that you have that pre-approval letter in your back pocket the minute you step out to see houses. And that is step 5, touring houses. This is when it really gets fun, doesn't it? You go out and you look at houses. And there's a myth that says you should just jump right in and look at houses and that's the best way to get started. And it's actually not. You really need to do these other steps that we have talked about first. And the reason is this: jumping out and looking at houses, You may fall in love with homes that are out of your budget or that are out of your comfort level if you're paying cash. And you don't want to start looking at houses that are outside of your comfort zone, outside of the budget that you want to spend, outside of the budget that the lender is going to give you. So you want to make sure that you don't just jump in and start touring and fall in love. You want to make sure that you are prepared up front with a down payment, with a lender, with your agent, and then you go to look at houses and you're looking at those that fall within that comfort zone. The sixth step is to make an offer. And one of the reasons I talked about it a minute ago that you really want an agent up front is you want to talk through writing an offer. What's that process like? Because it has its own process too. It has its own strategy. It has its own forms and documents and contract language that you're going to need to understand. And if you see a house and have to write an offer very quickly and you've never had any of these discussions with an agent, it can be a lot to take in about 2 hours as you try to beat the offer deadline. So make sure as you go through, you're talking about the different processes, the different strategies, the different documents that come with writing an offer. So that sixth step is to write an offer. And hopefully you'll get lucky on that first one. Hopefully you'll find a great place and not get in too much competition. But step number 6 is writing that offer and presenting it to the seller. So let's say you are under contract. That offer you wrote in step number 6 becomes ratified, which means you are in line to buy this house or this condo. The next step could be to do a home inspection. The reality of this market is a lot of people are not doing home inspections while under contract. They're doing them before. But if we're going to go through a typical contract process, a typical home buying process, this would be the next step. It would be to do your home inspection while you're under contract. And a home inspection is just that. A general home inspector goes into the house with you and they run all the systems and they test all the locks and the doors and they test all of the equipment and they give you some tips on how to keep the home maintained. They'll identify anything that's broken, and even more importantly, they'll identify anything that is a safety hazard. And part of the process, depending on how your contract is written, could be that you get to negotiate with the seller a credit or a repair for anything that you find that is a safety or a hazardous concern as you do that home inspection. Step number 8 is the home appraisal. Now, if you're getting a mortgage, a home appraisal is almost always required. It may be a contingency that you have waived as a buyer, but if it is not, and even if it is actually, an appraisal is probably going to be required by your lender. Your lender is going to need that appraisal for their file and for the final underwriting process. And an appraisal is a value of the house given to the lender. And essentially it is done by a licensed appraiser so that the lender has an idea of, if you default on your loan, what could they sell this house for? And is it equal to, greater than, or less than what you've committed to purchase this house for? The lender doesn't want to overcommit themselves. Just because you're willing to pay this much for the house doesn't mean the lender could turn around and sell it in another year or two for that amount. So that's what they're trying to gain from that appraisal, is what is the appraised value of this house? What could we as the bank sell it for if the person we have lent the money to defaults on the loan? Step number 9 is the final underwriting process. As you went to apply for a mortgage, you gave your lender a lot of paperwork. W-2s and tax statements and all kinds of things in between. And during this last push to get your loan finished, they will do final checks, a final credit check, a final confirmation with your employer that you are still employed, and several other things that go along with underwriting that loan. The most important thing to understand here is this. When you apply for that loan, you've given them a picture of your financial life, your financial security and worthiness. And you want to keep everything the same as you go through that underwriting process. And by that I mean this. Once you've applied for a loan, don't go out and buy a car or a boat or charge up a lot of expenses at a retail shop. If you're buying a house and it needs all new appliances, wait and buy those appliances after you close on the house, after your mortgage is fully funded. If you buy a house with a driveway and you get really excited because now you can get that great car you've always wanted, wait until you buy the house, until you close on the house. Do not go out and buy that new car while you are under contract. Your credit score, your debt to income ratio, and your financial picture need to stay very much the same as when you applied for this loan from the beginning. So wait to make any large purchases until after the underwriting process is finished, until after you are under contract. Step number 10 is closing. And closing is often called settlement or settlement day, or closing day. And that is the day you sign all of your contract documents officially, you sign the new deed, and you get the keys to your house. It's the final step in buying a house. Closing, it's when you can take possession of the home, when it becomes yours, when the loan gets fully funded and the house becomes yours. So those are an easy 10 steps to think about as you go to buy your next house. What's your home buying process been like? Let me know in the comments. Is there a step that you'd like for me to talk about further in a video? Let me know that too. I'd love to know what you're thinking, and I'd love to know how I can be helpful to your home buying process. Are you new to my channel or you just haven't subscribed yet? Make sure that you do. I post new videos every week on the buying and the selling process, and I'd love to have you come along.